Hi, I'm Ira Bryck. I'm the director of the UMass Family Business Center, and I'm really pleased to have as my guest today Charlie Epstein. Let me just say a couple of words about him. Charlie Epstein I have known for almost 20 years. He is the founder and one of the sponsors of the UMass Family Business Center. But aside from that, he's the founder of Epstein Financial Group and Epstein Financial Services, based here in Holyoke, Massachusetts. He is a registered investment advisor who was named by 401k magazine as one of the 100 top influential people in the field of 401k. He's also known as the 401k coach. Nice to have you here, Charlie.
Thanks, Ira. It's always fun.
So let me just start by asking you, what is a 401k coach?
Great question. So I've spent, as you just told our viewers and listeners, 32 years in the financial services world, and basically what I've done is packaged up what we do here for private corporations and taken our recipes, so to speak, and packaged them up and put them into a program we call 401k Coach. And we coach financial advisors all over the country how to do what we do, and we've literally coached almost 3,000 advisors in the last 10 years. So the way I like to describe it, imagine I'm Betty Crocker and you're Duncan Hines, and I'm sharing my recipes with you.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody once said to me, wow, so you're telling your competition how to get better. And my attitude is, if we all get better, the end result is employees and plan sponsors are better at managing and running their 401k retirement plans for the benefit of the participants. That's
okay, so you are improving the way that 401k providers advise their clients, who are people who have jobs, who earn paychecks.
Well, we're working with financial professionals who are either in or getting into the retirement world, but more importantly are working to run what I call run retirement plans.
Right.
And there's a lot of moving pieces today to run a successful retirement plan, but ultimately the goal is, how do we get participants to create, and you can see by these books that I have, paychecks for life. Because at the end of the day, to me, the definition of a successful retirement plan, are we helping employees replace their income so one day when the paychecks stop, they have a paycheck for life. That's the essence.
So the end of this question is, what is Paychecks for Life? What does it mean? But the beginning of the question is, I would imagine that a lot of employees just feel confused and a little bit daunted at the idea of having enough at the end of their working life and need to be prodded and influenced in a certain way by people like you and the people who you train. What is wrong with the thinking of many people that have jobs who are not getting paychecks for life, but who are just getting paychecks?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with people. It's you get up in the morning, you go to work, you work through the day, you come home, you've got kids, you've got a mortgage, you've got car payments, daunting. And every day for the average working American, it's really just about getting by. And they don't really have what I call a picture or a vision of the future beyond today, next week, or next month in many cases. Now, some people are more successful and some people are less successful, but if you think about the educational system, we don't train our kids and we don't train adults how to think about money. I mean, if you go through the core curriculum from kindergarten to 12th grade, there's nothing in there. I've got a 17-year-old and 11-year-old. How do you balance a checkbook, right? How do you effectively manage your money? How do you start thinking about investing? What are investments? How much money am I going to need someday? And for some people that are in 20s and 30s, 30 years away is a long time. And so suddenly, look at us, right?
Yep.
Too old codgers.
So let me ask you, you get a 401k through your job, and I know that sometimes it's the business owner who is introducing that concept to their employees of making contributions, but the business owner is in a very different place than the employee. How do they talk about that?
Well, it's a very good question, because if you were a business owner and I said to you, what's your retirement plan? What would you say to me?
Probably sell my business.
Yeah, which probably was your dream at one time, right? Yeah, most business owners, they're entrepreneurs and they say, well, this is my retirement. So I looked at that and I said, well, employees don't have that opportunity. They could work 10, 20, 30 years for one employer or multiple employers and they have nothing to sell. So I wanted to help employees think like an entrepreneur, and I started to consider well, what if the 401k, instead of calling it a 401k, we called it your own personal paycheck manufacturing company? Because the question you just asked is, if I'm an employer and you're my employee, and I offer a retirement plan, first of all, I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
America is the only developed country in the world that doesn't have a mandatory retirement plan. Social Security is not a retirement plan, it's a safety net.
Right.
So, employer offers this retirement plan, and that's pretty much it. Now, we don't have time to get into, once an employer offers it, they become a fiduciary and they have certain responsibilities. But how do they communicate that? Well, I'm busy trying to grow my business.
Mm-hmm.
You employee, here, figure it out.
Right.
So what we wanted to do is bridge that gap and help employees think about, if I was an entrepreneur and the 401k was my business, what are the steps I need? What are the key ingredients to run this business so I can sell it someday? And that's the essence.
Right.
Of
It's
this
interesting because I deal a lot with business owners, and we're always talking about how to get your employees to think more like owners, not actual owners, but an owner mentality. You're basically prescribing an owner mentality of your own retirement plan.
Yeah, all too often employees say to me, oh, the 401k, it's not mine, you know, it's the company's, or it's the government created this. And I say, no. If you want to have mastery over something, you need to name it and call it your own. So let's call it your personal paycheck manufacturing company. And then here's step one, step two. Here's 9 simple steps you can take, which will help you make sure you have enough money to create that paycheck for life.
So here is your book, Paychecks for Life.
Yep.
Who is the reader of this? Is it the trainer or the business owner or the employee?
Great question. So I wrote the book for the American worker. You know, the book actually, if you turn to my simple dedication in the book, it says, this book is dedicated to America's 401k participants and the belief that paychecks for life are within your reach. So the book, the best compliment that I get on this book is people say to me, wow, this was easy to read and understand. I could do this. That's gold to me. It means we got it done.
Right.
So it's written for an employee, but it's also written for the advisors that we coach, and even those that we don't, to be able to read this book and teach these principles, these 9 Paycheck for Life principles, to any of their employees.
So I've heard this term, 9 principles. Can you just talk a little bit about 9 principles? And also, there's a couple of other terms I'm going to throw into this one question. Desirement and the 10-1 now mantra.
Let's start with the 10-1 now mantra.
Okay.
So this is a basic principle that everybody needs to think about, but on average, you have to save 10% of your pay in order to have enough money at retirement. So there's the 10-1 now mantra is, no,
that's the goal.
Yeah, if you're an employer, I would say, Ira, you got to save 10%. And then you say to me, 10%? I got my mortgage, I got my car payment, the kids, I can't save 10% right now. I'm 45 years old, I've got all these other bills. And I say, well, what could you save? And you say, 5%. And I say, good. So let's start with 5%. And the 1 in the 10-1 mantra is, every year, for the next 5 years, I want you to increase your contribution by 1%. And you say, oh, I'll do that. And then next year rolls around, and guess what? You forget about it and you don't do it. That's human nature.
Right.
The beauty of a 401k plan is we can automate that. So the plan can automatically increase your contribution 1% a year.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about you forgetting. And at the end of 5 years, you'll be at 10%.
So you're increasing the pain in increments.
Incremental success, which is back to my principle. Principle number 1, act like an entrepreneur. That's what entrepreneurs do incredibly well. You know that. You know, at the Family Business Center, is they understand incremental success and marginal thinking. Do little things every day that will impact it.
Right.
And then I have a chart in the book called the 10-1 Now chart that shows 3 people. One person, Susan, saves 10% a year, every year. They all make the same amount of money, $40,000 a year. They all earn the same rate of return. And at the end of 30 years, she has over $420,000. George says, I can't save 10, I'll save 5 and increase it. He does that for 5 years. And at the end of 30 years, he has $405,000. And then Morgan says, I can only save 5%, and I'll increase it 1% a year, and she forgets. And in 30 years, she only has $225,000. She has half of what Susan has, just for 1%.
So you're solving the forgetting issue by having them to opt into a plan.
You automate You automate everything you do when it comes to money management. And so 10-1 now is, got to save 10 now. If you can't increase it by 1, and do it now. That's our mantra.
Right. Okay. So the other one is desirement.
Desirement. So I started thinking about retirement, and when I looked up the definition, Webster's definition of retirement, do you know what it says?
It probably has something like put out to pasture.
Close. To put out out of use.
Right.
And I thought, my God, I don't know anybody that's working to get to age 65 or 68 or 70 to be put out of use. You know, most of us are working to do the things we want to do someday when we retire, or what I say, do the things we desire to do. So we coined this phrase, desirement planning. So what we're about is helping you create a paycheck for life to pay for all the things you desire to do.
So it's honey instead of vinegar.
Exactly, which is more enchanting.
Right. So honey and vinegar. If I was a business owner, I know a lot of business owners have trouble inspiring their employees to do the things that they're offering. Right. So what would you hope would be the changed mentality of a business owner in communicating to their employees?
You've got to educate and entertain at the same time. That's the key ingredient. You know, having a theatrical background, that's what we brought to bear here. So the principles are very, very simple. And we train advisors to do them in an entertaining way so people get engaged and then they get excited about it. So what we say to business owners is, you know, if you're going to have this retirement plan, how do you know it's going to be successful? What are your metrics for success? How are we going to measure that incremental success? And I tell a little story about, imagine we're in Hartford, we're at the airport at Bradley International, BDL, and we're going to head to Los Angeles, LAX. We're about to get on the plane, and the gate agent comes on the PA system. She says, ladies and gentlemen, the captain and the FAA want me to make this announcement. They want me to tell you that there's an 85% chance that this airplane won't get from Bradley International to LAX on time and safely. Have a nice flight. Let me ask you a question. Are you going to get on that flight?
No.
Why?
I know I'll get stuck somewhere or killed.
Yeah, there's an 85% chance you won't get to your destination on time and safely. So that's, if you think about a 401k plan, I say to business owners, what's the minimum average rate of success that your participants will get to their destination retirement, LAX, on time and safely with enough money? And they say, I don't know. I say, well, we should start there, because you're boarding people on this 401k plan. So the key is we've got to educate them and entertain them, and then automate this process that they're constantly saving a little bit more every year, and then measure that result. And so that's part of the key ingredients.
Interesting. So let me just ask you, I know that you are involved in a local organization called Square One. I know a little bit about it, but you are actually donating half the proceeds from this book to that initiative. Can you explain why you're drawn to that organization?
So I've been involved with Square One for almost 13 years. And, you know, I've been very fortunate, successful business. My kids go to private school. And I started thinking about the kids that are not as fortunate. And Square One is an organization that's dedicated to preschools to families that are less fortunate. And it's really those families here in the inner cities of Springfield and Holyoke, broken households. In one situation, I actually paid tuition for one child whose mother was in prison, the Ludlow prison, for 2 years. He was the same age as my son Noah was, 5 years old, and I thought, wow, why should Noah have this opportunity, Anthony doesn't? So I've been involved with the organization. But what the real reason for my thinking about the book and donating the proceeds is, a year and a half ago when the tornado ripped through Springfield, downtown Springfield, it went right through their South End main facility. I mean, right through, and destroyed the building. 53 kids, miraculously, they got them all in the basement. Nobody got injured. And then just a couple months ago in the north end of Springfield, there was this enormous gas explosion, took out a whole city block, and took out their north end 100-seat facility. Luckily, it was a Friday holiday. Nobody was there. So they've been hit twice as hard. Plus the state cutting back on funding. And I thought, you know, I'm going to go to every business in Greater Western Mass and say, if you buy my book, Paychecks for Life, First thing is, I'll come in and teach your employees how to create a paycheck for life. So as an employer, you'll be giving your employees the gift of a paycheck for life. And then I'm going to donate 50% of the proceeds of the book to Square One, and we'll give the kids an education for life. And that's where it all starts. And my goal is, we're going to print for a second run. The first run of the book sold out.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're going to run 10,000 books. My goal is to sell all 10,000 and donate 50% of the proceeds right to the kids.
That's
and
great.
Give them an education for life.
Now,
It's a win-win for the community.
as I already disclosed, we know each other for many years, and you
Right.
were one of the founders and corporate partners of the Family Business Center. And at a recent event, you gave a talk, and you mentioned this about Square One.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of people in the audience that bought dozens of books
They
to
did.
give to their employees.
I
Is
appreciate
that your best scenario, where people's employees are actually each getting their own copy of the book?
Absolutely. I mean, it goes back to, I feel very passionate about the book. It's my 32 years of experimenting with what works in the trenches with participants. So these 9 principles, I didn't just wake up one day. I've literally been teaching them for the last 32 years with our clients and their employees, and this is the feedback we've gotten on what works, and we've seen the results. So if I can get a book in the hand of you and every other employee in this town, and they save more money, I have this theory, which, rising boats. So the more people save, the better it is for the economy, because there's more money to invest. And ultimately, everybody will benefit with a paycheck for life, and the kids here will benefit.
So how do people follow through if they're seeing this? Where do they get the book, and where do they get you?
So go to paychecksforlife.org, paychecksforlife.org, and you can log right on. You can order the books there. And there's also our phone number on the website, so if you want to call. And what I'll promise to do, if you buy a book for every one of your employees, whether it's 10 employees or 10,000 employees, I will then come out for free and teach the principles to your employees and help them create that paycheck for life. And then together, we can help, here's a little ad, we can help the kids at Square One create a education for life.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it was very nice speaking with you, Charlie, as always.
Ira, it's always fun. Thank you.
And so if you are inspired by this video, which you are no doubt seeing on my website, umassfbc.com, UMass Family Business Center, or on a site that is connected with Charlie,
Yeah, I'll give you the
please
number
send
again.
it on.
Yep.
Please send it on to a friend.
It's www.paychecksforlife.org, and the phone number is 877-932-6236, extension 3. We really appreciate it, and the kids really say thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you so much for listening.